Alright, hello everybody, and welcome to another Battle Tanks League commentary. Let's get right into it. Alrion immediately teleports into the middle as a Tinker with the energy torpedo, and he's going to try to take a pretty aggressive position with his initial tower. That'll put him very close to this strategic location here, maybe 1 or 2 towers away before he can start massing them up here. So let's see whom he's up against and if they're in any good position to wipe out this tower before Alrion's allies can arrive. We have Hokuto coming in with a light tank. He has a bombard rockets on that light tank that only does 10% damage to buildings, so he's unlikely to take out Alrion's tower. Diabolicue is in a helicopter with a light plasma gun, and enemy is in an anti-grav with basic magic. So if they're able to force 1 or 2 of Alrion's allies back to heal, they can maybe deal enough damage to this tower to take it out, but it looks like they're actually going to be too late, and they're going to be forced back. So Alrion does get that initial tower up, and we'll see how quickly he can push his tower mass to this strategic location here. If he is able to mass up towers in the strategic location, his 2 allies, You Matter to Me and Fenix, they can both enjoy the healing and the extra armor of the strategic location while also getting additional protection from the towers of Alrion. You just saw Alrion get to level 2 in his Tinker and try to use a teleport to get a last shot on Diabolicue. Unfortunately, there was a creep in there for just about half a second after Alrion's energy torpedo fired off, so it hit the creep instead of Diabolicue, but it was a good attempt nonetheless. We'll check back on in the middle. Actually, it looked like they were about to get in an engagement. Diabolicue took a volley from Alrion's energy torpedo, and then they were trying to hit each other with triple rockets. So Diabolicue and Fenix are both going to go back to their command posts and heal, both of them barely surviving. On the bottom here we have Hellcat, who is in a raider, and he looks like he just misclicked his static charge trying to hit Todd, instead hit a creep. Hellcat is in a raider with the multi-bow, which is actually a decent strategy against the scout, because the scout, its advantage in the early game, especially on the lane, is that its tank cannon does extra damage and has extra range, but it only hits creeps. And despite the fact that it can't hit enemy tanks, the scout does so much more DPS at level 1 than other tanks that it almost always, pretty much always, pushes the enemies back to their command posts and pushes their own creeps into the enemy's force rocket tower, and that rocket tower starts to steal kills from the opposing player. And so Hellcat, as the raider, instead of getting the basic magic, which would leave him at a severe DPS disadvantage versus Todd, he got the multi-bow, and so he has more or less comparable DPS with Todd at the start of the game. And his multi-bow, like Todd's tank cannon, cannot hit Todd, but he does have the static charge ability, which can deal consistent damage to Todd, being able to fire that off every 10-15 seconds or whatever, and it does, I think, about 200 damage at level 1. I think 175 damage at level 1, and then 350 at level 2. So we'll see how that goes for Hellcat. We have Tistiris up at the top. He's in an anti-grav with a basic magic upgrade, and it looks like he already got 1 kill against SHYMASTORM. So we'll see what SHYMASTORM has in a minute here. Looks like fights happening in the middle. Fenix got a kill on Diabolicue. It looks like Alrion got an assist, so that could have been his rocket tower, but it also could have been, and probably was, his energy torpedo. Alrion going with a very ambitious build, upgrading his energy torpedo before getting a hull, so he's not going to be able to get a hull until the 5-minute mark. So if any of these tanks reach level 4, they're going to be able to one-shot him with abilities. Unfortunately, enemy and Hokuto are only level 3.5, and then Diabolicue just reached level 3, so Alrion just might get away with this greedy build. And you can see, meanwhile, that he is stocking up towers close to this strategic location, and that will provide cover for his allies if the Light Force does try to push them. So let's see what SHYMASTORM has at the top. He is a distributor with a basic magic that he's already upgraded, and he is already level 4, so I'm curious what happened there to have him die to Tistiris so quickly. Looks like another kill happened in the middle. Alrion trying to plant a 4th tower. And Alrion already has 500 gold, so he's probably going to be able to afford that hole at the 5-minute mark. And if he gets another volley off on enemy, he might kill him. Actually, enemy would have just barely survived it, but enemy does have to go back and heal anyway. Alrion walking around with 250 hit points. Hokuto and enemy are both level 4, and so they can get 1-shots off on Alrion if they need to. Diabolicue's the one to die in that exchange. You Matter to Me putting in a lot of work with those heat-seeking missiles. Each one of them, if he's spec'd at level 2, I think at level 2 they each deal 230 damage or something like that. And so that's a lot of damage that he can deal to enemies in a burst. Alrion does have to be careful. I think Hokuto is trying to go after him. No, instead he tries to hit You Matter to Me with the triple rocket. You Matter to Me, as the distributor, does have a lot of starting hit points, so he's going to be able to weather that. And then Alrion, meanwhile, gets a volley off on Hokuto. Fenix trying to follow it up, but he would make himself vulnerable if he pushed too far. Alrion continuing to get good shots off with that energy torpedo, now hitting Diabolicue. Diabolicue gets hit with the triple rocket. Alrion, let's see how many volleys he can get. He has to teleport out of the way of the rocket tower, so Alrion at this point probably has to go back and get a hole. He needs about 80 more gold, and then he can afford to teleport back and buy it, so he might just do that right now. Meanwhile, we see Tistiris walking around with the tech mech that might be misrallied. It took a lot of damage to SHYMASTORM. From SHYMASTORM. Looks like Hellcat gets a kill on Todd at the bottom. He also died once at some point, so he is 1 kill and 1 death so far in this game. And he does have a basic magic that he's going to upgrade on top of that multi-bow. One thing he could have done as Raider, instead of getting basic magics, is a Star Shooter. Star Shooter actually works really well with Raider, and it works well against Scout, though Todd probably would just change tank at that point. Todd still with just the electro cannon. He does have a tech mech, maybe. I'm not sure. If he has a tech mech, he'll probably have that mech bring him a hole soon, because he's going to need hit points very quickly against Hellcat, who is pressuring him hard. You see that static charge go off and deal about 300 damage to him. Hellcat is forced to return, though, lest he take one too many volleys of the electro cannon. Alrion still running around without a hole. Can enemy take advantage of it? He gets 1 basic magic volley off on him. Meanwhile, Fenix trying to use the triple rockets on Diabolicue, and Alrion teleports in, gets the energy torpedo volley off of on Hokuto, and so Hokuto is actually the one to go down. Enemies in kind of a precarious position here. Fenix is putting pressure on the tower. Diabolicue is going to return to the command post and be able to heal up, and Hokuto is also back. So Fenix isn't going to be able to get any more kills than that. Somebody's iron hole is there. You see Fenix cleverly dropping the iron hole in the strategic location to heal up more hit points as a percentage. The strategic location, I think it gives 15 hit points per second. And so if you drop your hole, you actually heal up more in terms of your, compared to your total health, and then you can just pick your hole back up, and that will effectively give you faster healing. You saw You Matter to Me hit Alrion with the reactive armor, and that saved his life, and now they get a kill on Diabolicue, but Hokuto is able to retaliate by getting a kill against Fenix. And this is a play I like to see. Todd bringing his tech mech to help Alrion with his towers. I don't know if that was intentional or if that was misrallied. Todd is a good enough player that I doubt that was a misrally, and that's something I really like to see. Tech mechs do really well with Tinker Towers. Looks like Tistiris barely gets another kill on SHYMASTORM. Is somebody going to teleport in? No, that's SHYMASTORM's tech mech coming out. Tinker Towers do really well when they're repaired by a tech mech. They go up a lot more quickly and they can regenerate a lot. But the problem is they also cost supply, and so does the tech mech. And so if you buy a tech mech, you actually limit the amount of maximum towers you can have at once as a Tinker from 5 to 4. But if one of your allies, usually probably best if it's somebody else in the middle, that way they can actually visually keep track of the tech mech. I wonder what Alrion was doing there, trying to get a low probability volley off on Diabolicue, and instead he instantly dies to the light force creeps. So that was kind of a greedy play, suboptimal there. But anyways, if one of the Tinker's allies brings their mech into the middle, they get all the benefits of the tech mech, but they still can build 5 towers at once. Of course, it's going to become a moot point now that Alrion has changed his tank. He is a medivac now. So Alrion in the medivac with an energy torpedo, that's a very good combination, and he gets a good super thrust off on both Hokuto and enemy, and Fenix is the one to finish off Hokuto and force enemy back to the command post. So they're going to maintain this aggressive position in this strategic location, and Fenix and Alrion are both air tanks. They can hop in and out and put a lot of pressure on the light force while still enjoying the healing of the strategic location. Alrion trying to get another super thrust and energy torpedo volley, taking on Diabolicue and Hokuto 2-on-1. They're going to force him back. But he might just be able to, especially using his healing ability as the Medivac, he might just be able to maintain this position here. Looks like Todd does have his Iron Hole now. And Hellcat has a second basic magic. 2 more kills happen in the middle. Hellcat's going to go back and heal. As the Raider, you can get away with, instead of buying the Iron Hole, you can buy a repair kit, and then you can eventually turn that into a strength pack. That's a good use of your inventory slot in the mid-game. Then again, with the Iron Hole, you can always upgrade it to a kinetic shield, which is also a decent use. You matter to me way out of position there. He was very low hit points and running into the light force creeps and in the range of 2 enemy tanks. But Alrion does get a well-placed volley off on Hokuto, and so that's a 1-to-1 trade. Tistiris going to try to use a jump onto SHYMASTORM. SHYMASTORM does have the heat-seeking missiles, and so he kills Tistiris before Tistiris can do much damage. Let's see, Fenix has a triple rockets in him. He is stepping a little bit out of position. Does Diabolicue have one to respond with? Diabolicue is forced back into his command post. Alrion putting a lot of pressure on these tanks, both with the super thrust, excellently aimed super thrust there, dealing a lot of damage to these creeps. And that's probably going to provide them an opportunity to go after Hokuto. Hokuto does have a burst armor, and so he is going to be able to weather the occasional volley or energy torpedo or triple rocket from Alrion or from Fenix. And he also has 2 bombard rockets of his own, so he can deal a lot of long-range damage. Alrion already with a second energy torpedo, 11 minutes into the game, so he has been farming very well. Tistiris with a 3rd kill on SHYMASTORM. You can see he's also stocked up decently in his inventory with 2 basic magics, a light cannon and an Iron Hole. He can always upgrade that Iron Hole and get even more hit points, and that's what he's going to do right now. Todd finally getting a second weapon, second electro cannon. From this position, he can change his tank to something like a Medivac or even a storm tank, or pretty much anything pretty quickly. And those 2 energy torpedoes or electro cannons will do a lot of work for him on the lane. Then if I were Diabolicue, I think he's trying to save up for a second weapon, but he might actually be better off getting a basic magic and then trying to get this upgraded. Maybe even getting a kinetic shield if he doesn't want to get a burst armor. 4 deaths already out of him, 4 out of Hokuto as well. Hokuto is a little bit safer because he does have those 2 bombard rockets, and they might be a little bit safer now because enemy just came out with a storm tank. It's a no weapons storm tank, and he doesn't have any gold to buy weapons. But he can get level 3 air mines. So let's see what he ends up getting. Can he get in range to plant a mine? Takes a lot of triple rockets and a lot of damage from Alrion, so he's actually going to be able to, he's actually going to be forced back into his command post. Alrion and Fenix and You Matter to Me continuing to put pressure on this light force. Let's see if enemy can get his weapons back and actually mount an effective defense against them. You do see this mine coming in. That does about 1,000 damage. It's going to do 800 to Alrion. Let's see if they're able to get a kill. They do. So enemy finishes off Alrion. And that might give them some space for a few seconds to push away. Meanwhile, Tistiris going after SHYMASTORM. Tistiris surviving with about 170 hit points, able to get a 4th kill on SHYMASTORM. Meanwhile, Hellcat, instead of going the Iron Hole, he is going to get a repair kit, so he'll probably end up using that inventory slot for a strength pack in the mid-game. He's going to go after Todd, maybe. Todd does deal a lot of DPS at 1050 range, so if he carefully positions himself, he can hurt Hellcat where Hellcat can't hit him. He's got to be very, very careful about his positioning, though. He's going to be able to heal up and continue to pressure Hellcat. And now Alrion gets leashed by enemy who launches a mine, and Alrion's going to take a mine shot himself. He is able to get the volley off on Diabolicue. Diabolicue would have been the one to get a follow-up triple rocket on him had he survived, and so Alrion gets away with one that enemy probably should have had, so excellent play by Alrion there. SHYMASTORM with 3 basic magics and an iron hole. Meanwhile, Tistiris does have the light cannon and the iron hole upgraded, so a little bit better of an inventory than what SHYMASTORM has. SHYMASTORM does have a slightly more valuable tank in terms of the base tank, but I think Tistiris is definitely winning this matchup here. And he does have 4 kills compared to just 2 for SHYMASTORM. SHYMASTORM using all 3 of his heat-seeking missiles, so Tistiris does have a little bit of room to play with for the next 20 or 30 seconds. Let's see if enemy can get a second mine in this location here. That would really be potent. Instead, Alrion's going to draw it in, and this was very clever. You Matter to Me actually put the reactive armor on Alrion, expecting Alrion to try to draw that mine out, and so that mine ends up dealing 0 damage at all. Excellent play there by the Dark Force. And then SHYMASTORM getting another kill on, or actually no, SHYMASTORM's the one to kill Tistiris this time. And Todd also got a kill on Hellcat. Todd, he might be the first person to reach level 10. He is almost level 10. SHYMASTORM's almost level 10. Tistiris is actually a little bit behind SHYMASTORM in terms of creep farming, which is interesting. Tistiris does have to be careful. SHYMASTORM does have that burst damage in the form of the heat-seeking missiles. Todd's the first one to reach level 10, and so Hellcat does have to be careful because Todd has the nets, and if Hellcat's hopping in and out of these trees all the time, he can get netted and teleported straight on top of Todd. So let's see if Todd uses the net at any point. He is low on mana, so maybe he already used it. So Diabolicue gets a kill on Alrion. Hokuto trying to get bombard rocket volleys off on Fenix, but Fenix does get behind his creeps in time. Todd barely surviving in that exchange. 70 hit points. Tistiris reaches level 10, as does SHYMASTORM. Tistiris does have the more powerful level 10 ability. Let's see if he can phase out SHYMASTORM right about now would be a good spot. Instead, he's going to bait SHYMASTORM out of into using his heat-seeking missiles and go and heal up. And let's see if he can get a good jump on SHYMASTORM and get a kill. Meanwhile, a lot of kills happening in the middle. It looks like they're going to kill all 3 of the Dark Force middle players. Excellent play there by the Light Force. And they are only down 4 in kills. So I think the Dark Force still has a very small advantage. Kills in the early game don't matter too much in terms of the overall net worth once you get 30, 40, 50 minutes into the game. But they can help your team farm up for better tanks for the mid game, and you can carry on an advantage and exacerbate it that way. So we'll see what the Dark Force ends up coming out. What kind of tanks they come out with if they are able to maintain this lead on the Light Force. Enemy placing a mine defensively, though. He has to get out of the way. They are able to get 1 kill. Let's see if Hokuto can go down. And he does get to the command post just in time. Looks like Tistiris also got another kill on SHYMASTORM, or rather the Dark Force did. SHYMASTORM gets Tistiris gets the assist, though. The assist gives significantly less gold than the kill does unless you have an assist streak, where if you have a bunch of kills or you have a bunch of assists without getting any kills, it will give you a lot of extra gold. And sometimes I think it maxes out at 10. If you get 10 assists in a row, you get almost as much gold from an assist as you do from a kill. It's happened to me a couple of times in games, and it's kept me in games where I haven't been able to finish off opponents, but I have been able to farm effectively just by getting assists. You do see SHYMASTORM come in with Goblin Shredder. He's able to facilitate the Light Force getting 2 kills in the middle, and Tistiris is going to respond by getting a Thunder Tank. So we'll see how that matchup goes in the lane. SHYMASTORM with that Shredder is probably going to try to hop into the middle frequently, try to get kills on people like Todd or in the middle, and you see him go on the bottom with Todd. Hellcat is also there, and Diabolicue is also there, so they get a gank kill. And enemy is buying back his weapons. He also has an iron hole. Hokuto, meanwhile, is probably saving up at this point, and Diabolicue has a second weapon and probably could get a kinetic shield. Wouldn't be a bad idea. And then try to get a tank somewhere between 25 and 30 minutes. Enemy once again placing a defensive mine. It's going to go off on Fenix, who takes also a couple of volleys from Hokuto, but he's going to be able to get out of the way. And then meanwhile, SHYMASTORM tries to get a kill on Todd. He does get the unit teleport off, and they are able to finish him off. Meanwhile, Hellcat coming in from the bottom. Alrion gets a lot of volleys off on him from the energy torpedo, so he dies before he can kill Fenix. But it was a good attempt and a productive gank from the bottom. And now Tistiris has to get back before SHYMASTORM can get another pull on him. The Goblin Shredder was buffed in this version. It now has a greater pull range at level 1 and 2 of pull, I think. Its pull range at level 5, I think, is the same. It just starts out at a higher pull range and just gains less range per level. It used to be that the Shredder really wasn't dangerous at level 10, unless it could, like, catch the opponent in a really out-of-position situation. But once it got to level 13, and especially to level 16, it could start pulling tanks from very far away, and it could become very dangerous. I forgot to mention Todd also got a storm tank. And maybe that was in response to Hellcat getting the airship, because I can't imagine that Hellcat would get an airship after Todd, his lane opponent, got a storm tank, since the storm tank counters the airship pretty effectively. So this will be a game with a lot of air tanks probably, so we'll see which teams end up trying to get nets and take advantage of it. In fact, even You Matter to Me this early in the game, 21 minutes, would probably do well to get a net or two, try to save himself or catch Hellcat out of position. Again, if you net somebody and they are on top of trees or otherwise impassable terrain, they get teleported onto the origin of the net, which usually is right next to you. So if I were Todd, even Fenix, or even this Light Force, Hokuto, Diabolicue, I would probably invest in nets even this early on in the game. Let's see if Todd can get one more kill. He is able to escape, and then Fenix gets the kill. So the Dark Force getting 2 kills out of that exchange there. And You Matter to Me is going to get ganked by Hellcat and SHYMASTORM. He's going to go down. Meanwhile, on the top, it looks like we had Tistiris going after both enemy and Diabolicue at the same time. Nearly gets both of them, but they do a good job of sharing damage, and they're able to get the kill. And it looks like somebody got a kill at the bottom here. It's like Fenix and Alrion, or Fenix and Todd getting a gank on somebody. Maybe it was SHYMASTORM whom they killed. Very fluid game already, lots of ganks happening. You see Tistiris putting pressure on this top tower with the Thunder Strike, and he is going to get stunned. I think Diabolicue got that stun with the triple rocket, and then SHYMASTORM guarantees that he'll go down with the unit teleport, and enemy gets the finishing blow. So it is 23 minutes into the game, and Fenix really doesn't have much gold saved up. He does have 2 pretty good weapons and a kinetic shield, but he's not going to tank anytime soon. And Alrion actually has a lot of gold for the tank he has, the Medivac with 2 energy torpedoes. So we might see something like a Hunter out of him pretty soon, maybe even as soon as 25 minutes. And then meanwhile, You Matter to Me doesn't really have much. He does have a steel hole on his tank and a swarm rocket. So pretty good inventory. He's not like lacking in farm or anything, but he definitely should start saving up for a tank soon. They're going to try to put pressure on enemy. Fenix goes down before enemy dies, but they are able to get the kill on all 3 of the Light Force here. Excellent play. Todd has a lot of mines in this location. Hellcat has to be careful. Hellcat is probably aware, because you do see when the storm tank lays a mine, you see the animation of it laying the mine and where the mine is, and then the mine disappears. So as long as Hellcat's careful, or if he tries to draw the mines in one by one, 2 of them are going to go off. Never mind, Hellcat was not careful at all, and so Todd gets a free kill on him. SHYMASTORM teleports in. He's going to unit teleport You Matter to Me, and he actually catches him on the other side of the terrain. And Hokuto might go down unless people share damage with him. Diabolicue's got to be careful himself. Hellcat's going to teleport in. He's going to use his ultimate ability. It's not going to be enough to kill Alrion and Fenix, who are going to flee. And Hellcat has to be careful. He uses his repair. But he did get leashed by Alrion, and he actually died before Alrion's mine even went off, and so instead it actually hits both Diabolicue and enemy, and Alrion continuing to farm a lot of kills. Actually, Todd, never mind that, it's his mine. I confused him with Alrion. Todd and Alrion and Fenix teaming up. You Matter to Me as well, doing a lot of work. And this Light Force is maintaining a small lead over the Dark, or the Dark Force is maintaining a small lead over the Light Force. We just saw Hokuto trying to use his ultimate ability in the Light Tank. He hit nobody. That's pretty impressive because that ultimate ability, I think, has 1,000 range. So, missed play there by Hokuto. Triple rockets and leash go off on Fenix. Fenix is going to get out of the way. Hellcat is coming up from the bottom. I wonder if the Dark Force is aware of it. They are, and in fact, Hellcat might need to get out of the way. He gets leashed, he gets stunned, and they're going to get a 4-on-1 kill. Yeah, that strategy of sneaking up from the bottom only works when the rest of the Light Force is actively engaged with them. If they all flee to the command post or back to the shop, which is what happened, then everybody's just going to immediately be drawn to the minimap, and Hellcat sneaking across the bottom. SHYMASTORM trying to repair this force rocket tower. Let's see if Tistiris can continue to put pressure on it. He does have to be very careful, though, because the Dark Force mid is getting pushed. And so the Light Force tanks are available to gank him if needed. Hokuto comes out with a Demon tank at 26 minutes, and he has 1 Bombard rocket. He'll be able to buy the second one back soon. He's going to need to use his abilities right now. He is very slow, but he gets the lava shot off on Fenix. Diabolicue trying to kill him with the triple rocket, and Fenix barely survives. Now Hokuto has to get away, and so does Diabolicue. They're trying to get the kill on Todd. Yes, Diabolicue gets one last volley and survives with about 50 hit points, and then Hokuto himself survives with about 50 hit points, and it looks like Hellcat. Where did he come from? I wonder if he came from the side this time, and it worked. He was able to get a kill on Alrion. Well played by him. And this is about the time where everybody should come out with their mid-game tanks. And so we see Diabolicue shopping. He gets a Hunter, and he does have 1 weapon remaining on that Hunter. So we've got Hunter, we've got Demon Tank, and who else is in the middle? We've got Storm Tank. So that's a pretty good combination of tanks. Enemy, if the Dark Force gets too many ground tanks, he can, of course, change to something like a Brawler or even a Frost Robot himself at around 40 minutes, and that's not too late either. But this is a pretty good combination of tanks. They do have a slow, they have a lot of anti-air in the form of Banish and the Storm Tank, and then they have the crowd control follow-up damage from the Hunter. And actually, Alrion himself is a Hunter, and he does have the Energy Torpedo. That's a weapon that synergizes very well with the Hunter at long range. And so it's up to Fenix to try to get a good tank and swing this fight in favor of the Dark Force. He does have 4,600 gold, so at 30 minutes he should be able to get a tank. If he could survive all the way to getting a Frost Robot, that would also be very well. That would also be very good, but he is extremely vulnerable as this helicopter. He's vulnerable to Banish, he's both vulnerable to leashing. He doesn't have much hit points, and he can't take much damage from the Demon Tank or the Hunter, so he'll probably be forced to get a tank at 30 minutes at the latest. And I don't know if he'll be able to afford a Frost Robot at 30 minutes. Maybe with no weapons he could. We'll see what happens. Attempted gank on Todd here, and You Matter to Me. You Matter to Me does have speed, so he's able to get out of the way of that. Hellcat runs into a mine, and actually they might be the ones getting ganked if they're not careful. Hellcat does use his repair. Diabolicue catches all 3 of the Dark Force in his gravity grenade, and then Alrion catches Hokuto. He doesn't have any more mana for a main gun, and SHYMASTORM's going to come in and finish him off. Pressure happening on this tower. It's not going to be enough, and they do have to be careful because all of the Light Force is going to teleport in. They leash Todd. Todd does have speed, so he can get away a little bit. And Diabolicue gets the finishing blow on Todd with the main gun. Todd actually, I think he was trying to leash Hellcat, or maybe that was Hellcat leashing Todd. But Todd does go down. and the Light Force does close the gap a little bit. They do have a pretty decent combination of tanks. That Demon Tank and Hunter are very potent in the middle, and all 5 of them have tanked now, so it's up to the Dark Force to get tanks before they start losing their advantage. You Matter to Me doesn't have much gold. He does have the upgraded speed, but Distributor on the lane by itself doesn't do that much against mid-game tanks, and he actually might just die to Hellcat, barely able to get away. And then meanwhile, Fenix needs to get a tank himself. 20 minutes until the 30-minute mark, or 20 seconds until we reach 30 minutes. Tistiris trying to go after SHYMASTORM uses his abilities at the last second, and SHYMASTORM does get the kill. Let's see if Fenix can reach him in time. Can he get the triple rocket off? Yes, but SHYMASTORM is already in his command post. Fenix tries to use the fireball, but it's not enough. Meanwhile, Enemy and Diabolicue get 2 kills on Alrion and Todd in the middle, and now they're going to start putting some pressure on this tower. Hellcat does have the frost magic, and that can deal a lot of damage to the tower, so they do have to be a little bit... The Dark Force does have to respond to this, and they do go back, and the Light Force goes back to heal. SHYMASTORM with that poison magic. That poison magic barely allowed him to get the kill on Tistiris. And we are 30 minutes in, and Fenix does get a tank. It's a demon tank. So we have pretty much a mirror matchup in the middle. You Matter to Me gets hit with Hokuto's lava shot, and also with Diabolicue's main gun. And I think Diabolicue also uses his acid cloud and his gravity grenade. Lots of people go down, but nobody quite enough to die. Looks like Todd got 1 kill on Hellcat at the bottom. SHYMASTORM going after Tistiris. He's going to be able to deal a lot of damage. Tistiris tries to stun him to buy himself enough space to get away, but SHYMASTORM's DPS is too much. Tistiris made himself a little bit vulnerable there. Hokuto trying to lava shot Alrion. Alrion does have that acid cloud, so Diabolicue won't be able to reach him with the gravity grenade. Alrion might get away. Gets pulled in a little bit with the lava shot, but he actually gets healed because You Matter to Me puts the reactive armor on him. Enemy does have 3 mines here, so who's the air tank in this situation? I think only Todd is the air tank. So Enemy might be thinking about changing to something like a frost robot at some point, maybe getting 1 weapon and then changing tank. SHYMASTORM with yet another kill against Tistiris, and he actually has half of his hit points left. Todd's going to try to punish him for it, but SHYMASTORM probably will get away with this one. Yeah, I think Todd's the only air tank on this Dark Force at this point, so... You Matter to Me stepped a little bit too far forward. Again, he is the distributor 32 minutes into the game, and he stepped right in front of a demon tank into Hunter. SHYMASTORM continuing to be aggressive against Tistiris. Tistiris has to be careful, because if he loses about a quarter of his health, then SHYMASTORM can pretty quickly whittle him down the rest of the way, especially if he has no more creeps around him. You Matter to Me does change from a distributor to a heavy tank. That actually doesn't provide him that much more hit points. I think he had 4,000 before. Now he has about 6,000, so he still needs to be very careful, and he can go down quickly, but he does provide now 1 more stun, the aiming rocket, and 1 more heavy damage ability, the hail of bombs. So he and Fenix can initiate fights by stunning, and Alrion, and well, all 3 of them can follow it up with a lot of damage. See, You Matter to Me coming in from the side, trying to get a gank on Hellcat. Hellcat actually kills Todd so quickly that he is going to be able to flee back before Tistiris, or rather You Matter to Me, can really do anything about it. Enemy's going to plant more mines in the middle. These mines do deal damage to ground tanks, and he is putting them in a common path for ground tanks to walk, so they can still be useful, even though the Dark Force isn't air tanks anymore. Todd and Hellcat still can invest in nets. Hellcat doesn't have a free slot, but Todd does. Probably do well to invest in nets, especially since Hellcat still doesn't have a teleporter. Todd with another weapon, still going after Hellcat, who uses his repair, and now somebody comes in with the teleport. It's Hokuto, and I thought that lava shot was very poorly aimed, but he actually hit Todd, and they do get a kill. So Hokuto now has a teleport. It looks like Alrion gets one kill in the middle. Diabolicue with a very feeble and half-missed main gun there, dealing 500 damage to You Matter to Me. At the end of that fight there. You Matter to Me with, I think those are level 3 mortar teams, so they can deal significant damage. Just trying to sneakily move them into this rocket tower here. This does have a repair module on it, so whoever changed to Tinker before buying a tank was intelligent about that. And it looks like Alrion does get one kill on enemy, but now he and Fenix are both very vulnerable. SHYMASTORM came in and unit teleported them, and he actually might get a kill on You Matter to Me as well. That poison magic with a very short range deals a lot of focused damage. It's able to target down a desired enemy tank without wasting a lot of its DPS on nearby creeps. So he is able to get 3 kills out of that. Alrion does have an orbital strike, and it looks like he's used it once already. So 35-minute orbital strike, 2 energy torpedoes on the Hunter. That's a pretty potent combination. Hokuto takes an aiming rocket from You Matter to Me, but it looks like Alrion and Fenix weren't committing to it. Once again, the enemy pretty much instantly dies if he gets netted. So does Hellcat, and Hellcat actually does get 1 kill on Todd. He's going to upgrade the burst armor, so he's going for the strength pack and eventually the negator pack build. So that's a good way to combine those weapons late in the game for the inventory slot. And Alrion gets the gravity grenade off on Hokuto. Fenix follows up with a lava shot. Hokuto teleports out of the way, and now SHYMASTORM's going to teleport Alrion. Diabolicue gets the finishing blow on both Fenix and Alrion, and now Tistiris stuns SHYMASTORM, who barely escapes in that exchange. Light Force getting 3 kills, and they've actually surpassed the Dark Force. They're at 45 to 36. Todd, can he get out of the way? He got banished by Hokuto, so the Light Force gets 4th kill in that. And they've been playing really, really well since about the 25-minute mark when they started getting their mid-game tanks. So we'll see if they can maintain this lead or if the Dark Force can get their act together and swing it around in their favor. They do have a good tank combination. They're just not using it in synergy. They do finally use all of their abilities together, and they're able to get a kill on Diabolicue. Tistiris does have a teleport of his own, so that way he can get out of the way of SHYMASTORM. And they can't leave SHYMASTORM around for too long because he does, I think, 1400 DPS. But he did step a little bit too far forward, so they do get a gank. Tistiris coming in with the teleport and the stun, and then Fenix getting the finishing blow. Alrion, meanwhile, gets a kill in the middle. Hellcat is a little bit far forward. Let's see if anybody comes in to try to get a gank. Actually, it's SHYMASTORM who comes in. He has a teleport of his own, but now that he's used it offensively, he has to just run back himself, and they're able to get 1 kill on Todd. Hellcat doesn't have a teleport himself. Diabolicue comes in with an acid cloud. They might get a kill on Fenix. So I think this is 2-1 kills for the Light Force, and an excellently aimed lava shot hits Alrion, and Diabolicue follows up with the orbital strike, but Alrion is protected by a kinetic shield. I think Fenix is the one with that. Actually, no, it's Tistiris. So we're going to try to go after SHYMASTORM. SHYMASTORM does have that speed pack, but with 3 tanks, they are going to have to bring somebody to respond just to not lose their tower. Hokuto and enemy, probably one of them has to go back. Diabolicue gets gravity grenaded by Alrion, but dodges the lava shot. And can SHYMASTORM pull somebody and have Diabolicue follow it up with a gravity grenade? Diabolicue gets the gravity grenade off on Tistiris, and Tistiris can't teleport out of the way. He's killed very quickly. Hokuto with the lava shot to finish him off. Hellcat taking damage from Todd. Can he take one more mine? He does, and Todd is going to be able to... Oh, I thought Hellcat had already used his repair kit, but no. He has 2 repair kits now, so that probably surprised Todd as much as it did me. I'm surprised Hellcat actually didn't get that kill, and now SHYMASTORM is going to come in and he does get the kill, but he does take 2 different stuns, and so he's probably going to die. He does a lot of damage to Tistiris, but now You Matter to Me is going to teleport on top of Tistiris, and they do get the kill. Everybody bunched up, and so Alrion tried to take the opportunity to get multiple of them in the gravity grenade, but instead it's Diabolicue and Hokuto who stunned You Matter to Me before he can teleport out of the way, and now Fenix is going down. He's taking a lot of damage here. That acid cloud also slowing down his fleeing, and the Light Force gets 2 more kills. And I think Hellcat killed Todd as well. So now the Light Force is 11 kills above the Dark Force, and most of them have been mid-game kills, so they should have a noticeable advantage in net worth at this point. And that really is going to matter at around 50-55 minutes. They'll be able to get endgame tanks a lot quicker than the Dark Force will if they keep it up like this. Trying to team up against Tistiris at the top. Todd does come in to help, and so does Fenix and Alrion. Alrion himself has a teleport. He misses the gravity grenade, but it's not necessary. 4 versus 2. And Hellcat goes down before he can really respond. Hellcat really needs to get a teleport. And people need to start placing breakers. A lot of people have teleports at this point, especially on the Dark Force. Alrion has one. Fenix doesn't have one yet, actually. But Tistiris does. Todd actually doesn't. Maybe it's just 2 of them. But they're going after both Tistiris and Todd. They're able to get a kill on Tistiris. You Matter to Me also has a teleport. So they have 3 players with teleports. And then the Light Force has Hokuto, SHYMASTORM. Diabolicue doesn't. Enemy doesn't. Hellcat doesn't. Alrion gets 1 kill. Hellcat complaining that too many people are teleporting in on him at the same time. It is how it is. Fenix tries to use the Hell Implosion to clear out some creeps. He did make himself a little bit vulnerable there. He's lucky that Hokuto didn't have his lava shot ready or decided not to use it. See what SHYMASTORM can do. Can he pull Todd? Todd doesn't have the teleport. And Alrion already used his gravity grenade, but SHYMASTORM might not know that. He teleports out of the way anyway. Diabolicue misses his gravity grenade and orbital strike. Enemy has 3 mines right here, but they're all going to go off on Alrion, not deal too much damage to him. Only about 20%, 25% maybe. Matter to me is a little bit out of position here. He does have the teleport, so he'll use that to get out of the way. Trying to probably plant some mortar teams onto this rocket tower again. SHYMASTORM and Tistiris fighting once again. SHYMASTORM does have a teleport breaker, so if any of the Dark Force tries to gank him with a teleport, they'll be stunned instead. Somebody's basic magic upgrade is hanging out there. Oh, it was SHYMASTORM's. He dropped it to plant the breaker. Still haven't seen any nets. I still think nets would be a good buy. Diabolicue gets an excellent snipe on You Matter to Me. Hellcat is a little bit vulnerable despite having the 2 repairs. He doesn't have a teleport, and now 3 people team up and kill him. SHYMASTORM dealing a lot of damage to this rocket tower at the bottom. Let's see if he catches anybody in the teleport breaker. I don't know if the kinetic shield works on buildings, but Tistiris tries to use it anyway. SHYMASTORM does have the teleport. He's going to keep Tistiris busy defending that tower for now. Meanwhile, Todd gets banished. Todd gets lava shotted. Enemy's actually the one to die, and now Hokuto's. He doesn't have his teleport. It's on a cooldown. So the Dark Force with 2 kills. 10 behind the Light Force right now. You Matter to Me trying to get more mortar teams off. Taking a long time to do it, but nobody's there to respond. Actually, Hellcat's right there. Never mind. And You Matter to Me, instead of getting the mortars off, just kind of wastes a lot of time and uses his teleport. SHYMASTORM going after Tistiris at the bottom. He does get the kill on his tech mech and teleports out of the way, and now Alrion teleports onto him, and he gets stunned with the teleport breaker, tries to use the orbital strike to hit SHYMASTORM, but SHYMASTORM gets 1 kill out of that exchange. And he also got Tistiris' tech mech, so You Matter to Me protects himself with the kinetic shield. It might not be enough. Enemy and Hellcat do have a lot of DPS. He gets 1 more kinetic shield from Tistiris, and then Diabolicue fires the main gun. Both of them go down, and so now Fenix has to be careful. He's the only one left. Alrion finally comes back. He uses the gravity grenade, able to hit Hellcat, who uses a repair. Tries to hit the main gun with, or tries to hit enemy with the main gun. Meanwhile, SHYMASTORM and Hokuto getting 1 more kill on the bottom. And I'm still surprised that I haven't seen any nets, especially versus enemy and Hellcat. And, well, I guess enemy and Hellcat would be kind of the only targets for it. Todd as well. And nets are still a thing in 9.21. They weren't removed. So I think they would pay for themselves, but I haven't seen it yet. Todd trying to leash Hellcat. Hellcat still doesn't have a teleport. And so despite having 2 repair kits, he's kind of vulnerable, actually, unless he gets assistance. Hokuto comes in, and they're able to get both Alrion and Todd instead of dying. Diabolicue tries to come in with the gravity grenade, but it's very late. Meanwhile, SHYMASTORM dealing a lot of damage to this top tower. Can he take it down before he dies? That tower has about 1,000 health. It does have a repair module, and it's a level 5 repair module, so somebody changed to a Tinker. And that's going to allow that tower to heal up pretty quickly. I think the tech mech repairs 90 hit points a second, so an additional 75 is almost twice the repair time, or almost twice the repair points per second. That should allow it to go up pretty quickly. And yeah, it's already at almost a quarter health. Tistiris did plant a detector here, got rid of SHYMASTORM's breaker. It might have just expired though. trying to go after Hellcat again, and Fenix and Todd do team up and get the kill. And yeah, Hellcat did not have should have gotten a teleporter instead of that extended repair kit. Would have probably saved his life more times than the repair kit would have. They're trying to go after SHYMASTORM here, get a couple of stuns, but now SHYMASTORM's going to Tistiris, has to be very careful, and he goes down. They don't have any more teleport breakers here, but the Dark Force might be a little bit wary of teleporting onto people right now. Hellcat at the bottom trying to take out the tower. Todd's going to respond. Now Hokuto teleports on top of You Matter to Me, who has to use his teleport to get out of the way. And Alrion has to be very careful. SHYMASTORM does a lot of DPS with 2 poison magics, but not if he is dead. So Fenix and Tistiris do team up with Alrion to get the kill. And You Matter to Me has to be careful because he doesn't have his speed pack. Fenix tries to teleport onto SHYMASTORM. Excellently aimed lava shot. SHYMASTORM teleports out of the way. He should bring back his tech mech if they pressure it. Meanwhile, You Matter to Me is taking pressure in the middle. Teleports out of the way. He's just going to have to go back to the base. And now Todd's there to respond, and so is Fenix. He does get a banish on Hellcat, who, once again, does not have a teleporter. So Hellcat goes down. Hellcat with the most deaths out of anybody on the Light Force so far this game. Again, really should have gotten the teleport instead of the extended repair kit. And finally, did I see a first net? Enemy gets netted by, I think, Tistiris. Yes. So actually, I've been clamoring for nets all game, and then finally a player uses it, but that doesn't use it right, and it doesn't get any kills. But enemy now knows that, and probably Hellcat as well if he's paying attention, now knows stay away from Tistiris because he has 1 additional stun up his sleeve. Light Force still with a moderate lead over the Dark Force, but they haven't been able to increase it recently. Hellcat uses his Negator pack to negate a lot of the damage of Alrion's Orbital Strike and Gravity Grenade, and Diabolicue and Hellcat are going to team up to get the kill on both of them. You Matter to Me trying to take out a tower with his mortar teams. Maybe one more round of volleys. Nope. Teleport breaker here from Todd. I guess I caught it right as it expired, so it's been there for a while. Then another teleport breaker here from enemy, but it's taking damage for some reason. You Matter to Me taking fire from enemy. He does have his teleport. He also has a repair kit. Enemy does have to be careful because Fenix can stun him. Let's see if SHYMASTORM can catch somebody off guard. He does. He gets Tistiris on the other side of the trees. And Todd does use a kinetic shield, and that's going to be enough to ward them off. Let's see how many people teleport on Hellcat this time. Hokuto trying to get a lava shot, barely misses. Now Fenix teleports into the middle of 4 tanks and doesn't really do anything before he dies. SHYMASTORM had a teleport breaker there, that was why. And he had mines there, that's funny. Enemy with another mine on top of this teleport breaker here, so an extra 1,000 damage on top of getting stunned. Does work well. You Matter to Me, of course, well, actually, he just placed this so they can see the location of this air mine and the teleport breaker. Diabolicue has to get out of the way. He doesn't have a teleport, so let's see if they can pursue him. Not quite. And actually, Hokuto is going to teleport in, get the banish and the stun on Todd. They do get a kill. SHYMASTORM continuing to put pressure on Tistiris, who can see SHYMASTORM's teleport breaker. So Fenix does know not to use a teleport. SHYMASTORM does have a teleport of his own. Let's see how well Fenix can time his lava shot. SHYMASTORM gets out of the way. Actually, Fenix is going to continue to pursue him, and that might be unwise. Fenix has to teleport himself. And Hellcat putting a lot of pressure on this bottom. Who's going to be there to respond? Todd is in a command post right now. And Hellcat tried to use the negator pack to get the last little bit of damage off. And finally, we see a teleporter out of Hellcat. And Alrion teleports into the command post right into the lava shot of Hokuto, but he's safe anyway. And it's 55 minutes into the game, so we should see endgame tanks coming out soon. Alrion has a lot of gold. Fenix isn't saving. Todd isn't saving. You Matter to Me isn't saving. Fenix I already checked on. Tistiris, I think he is shopping. He's getting a Frost Robot. 55 minutes is very late for a Frost Robot. You Matter to Me gets an excellent hail of bombs, and then Alrion an excellent orbital control, so they are able to get Diabolicue, but Todd dies in return. SHYMASTORM teleports out of the way. Does enemy have a teleport? Maybe, but he died. And now Tistiris comes in. They might put some pressure on this command post here. Gets the Ice Prison on SHYMASTORM. SHYMASTORM trying to deal as much damage as he can. Able to get both Fenix and Tistiris down to low hit points. And now both of them might die, actually. Hellcat has to be careful. Does he have one more teleport? He has the negator pack. His teleport is on cooldown. So this is a 2-2 trade after all is said and done. And I was going to say Tistiris, I thought he would be actually getting a tank. But no, he gets the Frost Robot at 55 minutes. But Alrion is close to getting a tank himself. Meanwhile, enemy doesn't have much gold. Hokuto has a lot of gold. He can get a tank soon. Diabolicue doesn't have much gold. They're trying to get the kill on Alrion. An excellently timed gravity grenade there. Does Alrion have a teleport? And then SHYMASTORM doesn't have much gold. And who is the last player? Hellcat has a small amount of gold. He might get a tank at 1 hour 105. So Hokuto probably needs to tank up soon. Definitely at 1 hour, no later than that. And probably with an Infernal if he's going to wait for an hour. Actually, probably a Titan if he's going to wait for an hour. That would be very potent. And Tistiris get the Frost Robot with a full inventory. Alrion's going to go down. You Matter to Me might go down as well. Taking a lot of damage from SHYMASTORM. Can SHYMASTORM get a build off? I think You Matter to Me did get one build. Somebody lost a tech mech here. SHYMASTORM dealing a lot of damage. And they are able to get the kills on SHYMASTORM and Hellcat. Tistiris still has a lot of inventory as that Frost Robot, so he definitely could have gotten a Goliath with no weapons, or he could have waited for until the hour mark and gotten a Goliath with weapons. That Frost Robot really is kind of an underwhelming choice at 55 minutes. Light Force has bought no armor upgrades, neither has the Dark Force. Enemy still has teleport breakers here in the middle. Let's see how useful they are. This one's about to expire. We're going to try to go after Hellcat, who just teleports out of the way. They can still try to take out this command post, and Fenix gets a lava shot off on Hellcat. They're going to kill Hellcat before he can really do anything. Meanwhile, the bottom's getting taken by SHYMASTORM here. And can SHYMASTORM get a build? He can. He takes a gravity grenade from Alrion. You Matter to Me and Fenix both teleport in. I think that is going to be enough. And Tistiris is there as overkill. They're going to kill SHYMASTORM's tower as well. SHYMASTORM does get out of there at least, so he doesn't lose his own tank, just the tower. And he forced multiple teleports out of the Dark Force, so they were unable to pressure this top command post. And if I'm the Dark Force, I try to get a Titan in 1 minute out of Hokuto and start taking command posts. It is a little bit awkward because in the new meta you can't get... Oh, actually, it's the tank upgrade, not the armor upgrade that unlocks tanks. I forgot. So I actually can't see what the tank upgrade is. It's 11. It's 11. And then for the Light Force, it's also 11. So neither of them have gotten any tank upgrades, but the Light Force probably should get some soon and just close this game out. They are maintaining a moderate lead over the Dark Force here. They might get another kill on You Matter to Me. He gets the protection of a kinetic shield, and finally enemy gets netted in its proper net, and enemy goes down. SHYMASTORM planting a teleport breaker with his tech mech again. Those teleport breakers have been very productive this game. Trying to go after SHYMASTORM here. Can Alrion time his gravity grenade well enough to catch SHYMASTORM and make him unable to teleport out? SHYMASTORM's a little bit vulnerable. Does he have a teleport of his own? Yeah, he does. So he can get out of the way whenever he wants to. Yep. And actually, he baited Alrion into a bad position there. Let's see if enemy goes down. Tistiris is able to get a kill on him. And actually, SHYMASTORM's vulnerable without that teleporter. But Todd takes a lot of damage before he can finish off SHYMASTORM, so he flees. And Hokuto does come out with the Titan at the hour mark. And he has a teleporter and he has speed. So they're going to go back for this bottom command post. Let's see if they bring everybody. SHYMASTORM's going to be there. Hokuto does bring in the obelisk, and that obelisk does deal 2,500 damage to anybody who teleports in. Hokuto is going to go down, but he did deal a lot of damage to all these tanks, so let's see if they can follow it up. Does Diabolicue have this gravity grenade, or did he already use it? Hokuto able to get one kill, but he died, so I don't think this push is going to quite work out, but if they try it again, especially if they're able to push this bottom command post, just lock out the Dark Force from easily getting endgame tanks. Alrion does have quite a lot of gold at this point. They need to start getting tank upgrades and get a response to Hokuto's Titan. The response might be right here. They're getting an excellent exchange. They might get 3 kills, actually. SHYMASTORM barely teleports out of the way with about 300 health, but they're actually going to take this command post, especially if they can get a build. Tistiris is able to get the build. They're going to kill Hokuto. They're going to kill SHYMASTORM. Todd is there. Or actually, no, whom did I see? I'm not sure, but they're going to lock down this command post. So it's good that Hokuto did get the tank first. Hellcat with barely any hit points, less than 100. Does anybody have a teleporter? Alrion gets the kill. And enemy's going to go down as well. And I don't know if that was Alrion's own orbital strike. I don't know if that damages allies. Maybe it does. I don't remember. Maybe it was Diabolicue's. Maybe it was Diabolicue who died right here and just used his orbital strike at the last minute. So instead of taking a command post, the Light Force loses a command post despite Hokuto being a Titan. He does have some weapons back, so he has a small amount of DPS at this point. But his main utility is, for now, is in his abilities, especially that obelisk. And now Alrion responds with his own Titan, and they're going to try to go on the offensive here. Hokuto does have a teleport breaker planted, or actually that's SHYMASTORM's, but Alrion is going to kill it with his obelisk if he pays attention. He's trying to just target this tower. If he could spare one volley for that obelisk of SHYMASTORM's. It does expire, So they're going to go after Hokuto, try to deal a little bit of damage to him. Hokuto doesn't actually deal much DPS to either of these players, except when he uses abilities. Diabolicue gets a kill on Todd in the middle, and it looks like they're going to go for it. Alrion did plant an obelisk in there, I think. Maybe not. But they do have the tower down now, so they can take the command post. And this light force does have to be very careful. They have probably a slight net worth lead, but they do need to get tanks. SHYMASTORM's not close, Hellcat's not close. Hokuto has his tank. Diabolicue has a lot of gold saved up, especially for a hunter, so good for him. An hour and 5 minutes, he can probably get a tank, but he will need to get access to a shop. And meanwhile, You Matter to Me, able to siege a la Ghost tank. And Alrion gets the kill on the tower in the middle. So now both of these command posts are vulnerable. Fight happened at the top. I didn't see where exactly it happened. And now SHYMASTORM's going to go for an Infernal bot. He's going to have one poison magic on it, and he's able to do it just in time, smartly selling his weapons instead of his tank to a Tinker. And enemy gets netted once again, trying to use the Negator pack. Hellcat, or SHYMASTORM is there to protect him, and You Matter to Me doesn't have the mana nor the cooldown off on that teleport. So he goes down, and they do have to be careful though, because they can't leave this top for too long. So the Light Force does have 2 endgame tanks, and then Diabolicue, I'm not sure where his gold went. I thought he had a lot of gold earlier. He'll probably stay with the Hunter for a while. Hunter is okay as an endgame tank. It does a lot of percentage-based damage with the Acid Cloud, and it has an area stun and a lot of area damage, even for the late game, in the form of that Orbital Strike. He actually hit SHYMASTORM, as well as one of the Dark Force players, though, with his last Gravity Grenade. We see Todd with I forget what it's called, Frozen Tempest. I still don't know what its abilities are. I think I played it with it in single player once to try to learn them, and I barely remember it. Hokuto has to be careful. He might actually go down really quickly, and they do kill Hokuto, and now the top command post is extremely vulnerable. Alrion's going to come in and try to get the middle, and instead SHYMASTORM's a little bit out of position for either of them. Let's see where they try to go. Alrion's not going to commit to the top or to the middle, and they do have enough people at the top to defend. They do get one more net off on enemy, but SHYMASTORM tries to stun Tistiris, and he's trying to get the kills on Tistiris and Todd. I think Tistiris teleported into Hokuto's teleport breaker trying to flee. And so they do get 2 kills. Todd gets 1 kill back on enemy, though. And Hokuto's going to plant an obelisk, try to get this rocket tower finally down. And Hokuto does plant a camouflage generator, but Alrion immediately dismisses it. And now Alrion gets trapped in the same teleport breaker that You Matter to Me got trapped in. He's going to be able to flee anyway. And actually the Dark Force baited both Diabolicue and Hokuto into dying twice, and now You Matter to Me is going to spawn mortar teams, so those are going to deal with this tower very quickly. SHYMASTORM does try to use the Infernal Waves to clear him out quickly. Meanwhile, we have Alrion taking this top command post. Hellcat does have a barricade there. Enemy finally comes out with a Goliath. That is another endgame tank. Or actually, this is Alrion's command post. Hellcat was trying to take it. He is able to successfully escort enemy to get an endgame tank, though, so Hellcat is the next one up to get a tank, and then after that, Diabolicue. Alrion trying to go after this middle command post. Uses the obelisk, uses the orbital strike. His teammates aren't quite in position to follow it up though they are dealing a lot of damage at the top. They get one more kill on the barricade. Fenix is an infernal himself. They're not going to be able to get a build, and now Fenix is stunned again. He actually might go down. Yep. Alrion trying to deal as much damage as he can, but he has to be careful too. He teleports out of the way, and then Todd is going to flee back. Everybody go and heal up and maybe try to get it on the next push. Even if all you're doing is forcing them to build, that's gold they spend and gold you earn, so. Alrion with yet another obelisk. That obelisk actually deals non-negligible damage in fights, almost 1,000 DPS. So that's like a whole weapon slot. You matter to me trying to continue and siege this top base here. Does spawn some mortar teams, and now the advanced troop command comes out, so got 6 mortar teams. Those are going to be able to clear out towers very quickly. They're going to have to respond to this, but they're busy pushing the middle. SHYMASTORM goes down. Fenix, can he reach the healer just in time? He does. Hellcat uses a repair. And You Matter to Me might take out this laser tower as well. 1 or 2 more volleys. Those mortars are going to expire instead, though. But You Matter to Me, 1 or 2 more pushes, and he can start killing factories. So this Dark Force definitely playing pretty even. This is a close game. If You Matter to Me can get 1 or 2 more good pushes, he does have the support now of a factory from Alrion, so that's going to provide just some general push. SHYMASTORM might try to spawn 1 or 2 infernal minions just to counter that push. Make it so that the tanks actually need to be there to push their creeps into the base. See teleport breakers strewn all over the middle. Alrion can dispose of those pretty effectively with the obelisk, but he's going to use it offensively in the command post instead. Comes in, uses the ultimate ability, and now Tistiris uses the freezing waves as well. It's not going to be enough to finish anyone off. Meanwhile, we have Fenix and You Matter to Me trying to get the kill on SHYMASTORM. Does You Matter to Me have an advanced troop command in him? He does. He's going to wait for there to be nobody around, though. Alrion hitting that tech mech with the obelisk ability, 2,500 damage. Now Todd's going to try to distract at the top. I don't think this is actually going to take anything, but he might get a kill out of it, and I thought the purpose of it would have been for You Matter to Me to kill a factory, but Todd does get 1 kill out of it. Going to take advantage of it in the middle. You Matter to Me just killing normal towers instead of the ones guarding the factory. Fenix gets 1 more kill, and Todd is going to get away with murder and a half here. And now Alrion comes in, trying to get the kill on this barricade here. Tistiris is also present. Let's see if they can teleport anybody in, like Todd. They get Todd and Hokuto kill each other. Hokuto is the Titan on the Dark Force, so they're not going to have his presence here. We have You Matter to Me and Tistiris planting themselves in this command post. Fenix and Alrion are present. They're probably going to take this because Tistiris also has the build. And the entire light force is gone. So this actually might be the end of the game. And I didn't see exactly what happened here, why everybody died, but whatever kept Hokuto and company out of the middle command post, it was a very good play. And now the light force's only hope is to hang on to this command post. And unfortunately, they have pretty much lost their kill lead. So I think the Dark Force at this point has actually a greater net worth. Does Hellcat have enough for a tank? He really needs to get a tank soon. And meanwhile, the longer they wait, the longer they take, You Matter to Me is going to kill more and more towers. He really needs to focus on this one here and the factories. But there is gold to be earned all over the map from these towers for now. All 5 Light Force tanks present here. That means there's nobody guarding the base. So You Matter to Me continuing to siege. Gets one more tower. Diabolicue teleports on top of him, wastes the gravity grenade and the orbital strike. So You Matter to Me kills a couple of towers and baits Diabolicue out of his abilities. So productive siege by him. And then now Fenix is going to drop in. Somebody's text mech just got obliterated. Is Alrion here? They could really use him. He's a little bit late to the party, but he was busy getting a kill on Diabolicue and probably didn't want to teleport in because there have been teleport breakers here. And Alrion actually might go down. He is able to get 2 kills actually just with the obelisk and the ultimate ability. And Hokuto, can Todd get a build? Todd builds a laser tower. This might be the end. SHYMASTORM's the only one left. And now he's down. And yep, this is pretty much the end of the game. So, excellent comeback there by the Dark Force. And despite the Light Force having an advantage in kills and net worth and getting the first endgame tank, as soon as they got their endgame tanks, they actually started losing command posts. So, excellent execution of the endgame strategy there by the Dark Force, slowly taking the command post. And even if they had created a stalemate situation, You Matter to Me would have sieged the Dark Force base pretty quickly. Oh, he was a heavy tank. That's why he had the second pair of mortar teams, despite having nothing in his inventory. I completely missed that. But he did a good job of remaining a siege threat, even if he wasn't the best in combat situations. And so Dark Force does win this game. It's my pleasure to commentate this, and I'll do this again some other time. And hopefully I'll remember to turn my mic on every time. I did one of these earlier today for about an hour and saw that my mic wasn't on. So yeah, Titan Music out.